Hello and good morning. You're tuned into Market Cafe. I'm Ankita Saxena, and in the next half an hour, I'll take you through what transpired on the global front, the geopolitics, and of course, the cues back home that you need to watch out for before the D Street starts trading today. But before we get going with the rest of the show and the headlines, let's talk about how the Wall Street shaped up yesterday. Well, a sea of green is what's coming in. We have Nasdaq and the tech stocks that made a comeback yesterday. We had Nasdaq that inched up 336 points, 1.3% of an uptick coming in there. S&P 500 also ended the day higher at 0.8%, and also we have Dow Jones that was trading up with gains of 0.2%. So it's really the semiconductors and the tech stocks that made a comeback, and on account of that, we did see Nasdaq that jumped up almost 300 odd points. We had a rally in the chip makers that, of course, helped bolster the US major averages, and of course there were also many investors that are hopeful of a strong earnings season, and that can help the market broaden the tech and they continue their upward advance. So it's really eyes out are now on the tech earnings, and remember back home also we have begun the earnings season. But let's talk about the oil prices also, and oil prices also seem to have cooled off a little, because we had touched the $78 per barrel mark. Right now, Brent is sitting at $76.37 a barrel. Right now, absolutely flat. WTI is also trading absolutely flat as of now at $72.18 per barrel. And let's take a look at the Asian handover and what that looks like. Asian handover also in the green right now. Nikkei is trading up 2.3%. Hang Seng trading with gains of more than 0.5%. Shanghai is also trading up 0.3%. S&P ASX 200 also trading up 0.3%. And the implied start to Nifty is also indicating towards a gap up start of 112 odd points. So that's how largely the markets are shaping up, and the implied start to Nifty is also indicating a gap up start of more than 100 points. But let's talk about the West Asian conflict that has intensified once again, with Iran claiming strikes on multiple US military targets across the Gulf after fresh American attacks on Iranian military infrastructure. Tehran says it targeted US facilities in Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain and Jordan, while Washington maintains its operations that they are aimed at protecting freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. The escalation comes as Iran buried the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, with both the sides exchanging fresh warnings despite the ongoing diplomatic contracts. And NATO leaders left Ankara with an unusual souvenir after the Alliance summit, as Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan gifted each leader an engraved Turkish-made vintage revolver. Several countries have since moved the firearms into secure storage, museums or custom facilities. The symbolic gift was intended to showcase Turkey's growing defense industry, now the world's third largest exporter of small arms, with a value of over the 2019 to 24 period. And Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh has unveiled the members of 5 high-profile task forces that will review the central bank's policy framework and operations. The panels include prominent names such as Mark Anderson, Raghuram Rajan, Greg Mankiw, and Walmart CEO Doug McMillon. The groups will examine communications, inflation, productivity, data, and balance sheet policy as a part of Warsh's push to reshape the Fed's policy framework. And AstraZeneca shares stumbled after its late-stage trial of heart drug Wainua failed to meet its primary goals in the patients with a rare heart condition. While the company said its existing approvals remain unaffected, analysts warned the bigger concern is a hit to the management credibility rather than financial targets. The setback also strengthens rival Alnylam's position in the fast-growing cardiomyopathy market. And South Korea's SK Hynix has raised $26.5 billion in its blockbuster US listing, making it the largest ever US IPO by a foreign company and the third largest IPO globally. The memory chip maker priced its American depository shares at $149 as strong investors' demand underscored confidence in the AI semiconductor boom. And France are through to the FIFA World Cup finals after a 2-0 victory over Morocco, powered by another record-breaking performance from Kylian Mbappe. The French captain became the youngest player to make 20 World Cup appearances and the fastest to reach the 20 World Cup goals, scoring his 8th goal for the tournament. France now awaits the winner of Spain versus Belgium in the last tour. And PM Modi's upcoming visit to New Zealand is expected to mark a major milestone in the bilateral relations. India and New Zealand are likely to elevate ties to a strategic partnership, signaling closer cooperation in trade, defense, regional security and sports. Srinjoy is bringing us the report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in New Zealand, and the first thing on the agenda is a strategic partnership. So very shortly, India and New Zealand will be strategic partners, and it has great repercussions. It suggests that both countries are on the same page vis-a-vis political situations, the economic situations, and also defense matters. So as a result, this strategic partnership can only take the bilateral relation forward. Now, one of the first things that will happen when Prime Minister Modi meets his counterpart, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, is the fact that a trade deal is imminent. And this trade deal is going to be important for India because New Zealand, though it has a small population of roughly 5 million people or less, is a high-income country. The per capita income in New Zealand is about $50,000 plus, and that makes New Zealand a fairly substantial market for pharma, for IT services, for old Indian exports like tea and coffee and spices, and also machinery. Besides that, there is a defense component to the relationship because both countries realize that the US has decided that it's no longer the Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii, but the Pacific Command. So there will be a naval closeness between the two countries. And also, very importantly, one issue that is being looked at is sport. Now, at the highest levels of the Indian government, there is a question. How is it that New Zealand, with a population of less than 5 million, has won 15 gold medals or 17 gold medals in the last 2 Olympics combined? 17 gold medals. On the other hand, India from 1928 has won a total of 10, including 8 in hockey. Now, what does this mean? It means that India wants to cooperate with New Zealand on sport. And that too in sports management, which includes talent spotting, sponsorship, which means finances, also training and sports medicine. Now, sports medicine is not just about keeping an athlete healthy. It means ensuring that he or she peaks at the right time. So a lot happening in New Zealand when Prime Minister arrives in Auckland. And this includes, of course, the strategic partnership, defense, trade, of course, of which horticulture will play an important part, and yes, sports cooperation.
And moving on then, in an exclusive interview with Times Network Zaka Jacob, Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has dismissed reports on the efficiency of the E20 fuel. Listen in to the excerpt of that conversation.
In the year 2014, when the Honourable Prime Minister assumed this thing, it was very clear, even then as it was for 10 years earlier, it was clear to his predecessors also, that India needed to go down the road of biofuel blending for several reasons. For transitioning to cleaner, environmentally sustainable fuels, for helping our agri-economy, for removing your dependence, not lessening, I can't say you can't remove, of course, lessening it on imports, and a variety of reasons. When we did 10% blending and when we did 20% blending, Zaka, we've saved 1,90,000 crores on foreign exchange. Now, you said in the preambular part of your introduction, you said we should discuss ethanol and the Hormuz crisis. Let me take the liberty of taking the Hormuz back into ethanol. If we did not have ethanol blending, do you know how much more
Crude
crude we would have had to buy? My very efficient research team has given me, we would have had to buy 309.98 lakh metric tons more crude.
if it were not for ethanol.
If it not for ethanol. In haste, I have drawn up for you a statement. I won't take airtime, but I'm going to make it available on how many occasions we have announced the transition. In 2014, when the national biofuel blending was only 1.5%, the Honorable Prime Minister announced that we will have a 10% blending target by November 2022. We managed to do it. Why did you do the 20% earlier? Because targets are invariably set based on your past experience. Because we could devise an ecosystem and we could implement that ecosystem and retain our target and have a faster rollout. But it's not done overnight. Why the controversy on 5th June? Zaka, we have been with E10 since November of 2022. We have been with E15 for the last 3.5 years. And we have been with E20 at least for 2 years. Well, technically 19%, but I would even become, stickler for the exact figure. From April 2022, we have been, April 2026, we have been at 20%. कहाँ April, कहाँ 5th June? चुप थे, कोई नहीं थे. हुआ क्या that on 5th June when we said E85, somebody got startled.
Tell me, you referred earlier about one of the things is about the choice to the Indian consumer. What stops you from giving that choice?
I'm giving the choice. Go beyond 20. Who wants to go back? I've never understood anybody wanting to go back on something. Look, one thing is very clear. Your engines are improving. Engines can take better. And when you talk about all the attendant problems, Suzuki Motors says that they have serviced something like 1.5 crore vehicles, and not one of them has suffered any damage on account of wear and tear.
Yeah.
So choice means what? Choice can mean greater efficiency. It can mean more sustainability, etc. So we are willing to give the choice, but we are willing to give the choice which is not inferior, which is superior.
All right, you can catch the entire interview. It's Times Network exclusive. But with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we're getting you all the cues you need to watch out for before the start of D Street. Welcome back. You're tuned into Market Cafe. Let's talk about back home and all the cues you need to watch out for. Now, well, remember the IT bellwether TCS has come out with its quarter earnings, and they've reported an inline set for the June quarter with revenue rising over 2% sequentially, while the margin softened to 24%. The company maintained strong deal momentum with a total contract value of $9.5 billion, while its AI revenue run rate increased to $2.6 billion, supported by a multiple large AI-led transformational win. Dashita is also now joining us to share the takeaways and the fine print of the TCS results and, of course, the TCS management briefing as well. Over to you, Dashita.
Right. TCS has delivered an in-line quarter 1 FY27 with the revenue largely meeting the estimates, while the margins came under pressure due to the wage hikes. However, the management struck a relatively optimistic tone on the demand and AI, and that is where the street's focus has shifted. The revenue rose about 2.2% sequentially, coming in at 72,275 crore, while the EBIT margins came in at 23.96%. At the same time, PAT declined nearly 3% on a sequential basis, and in dollar terms, the constant currency revenue came in at 0.4% QOQ, which was broadly in line with the expectations. Now, on the con call, the management highlighted a record TCV of $9.5 billion, which included a $800 million AI-led transformation deal with SKF. AI annualized revenue run rate increased to $2.6 million, which was up 13.6% QOQ, with the management saying that the agentic AI is now moving from pilot to production stage. This also indicated that AI-driven productivity gains of 10 to 15% are largely being reinvested into the new transformation projects, while the consumer and retail remains weak and manufacturing continues to see softness due to the auto segments. TCS expects demands to improve from Q2 FY27, led by BFSI, manufacturing, healthcare and life sciences. The company also reiterated its confidence of gradually improving margins through productivity and operational efficiency. Now, looking into what brokerages have to say, the brokerages remain divided. Morgan Stanley maintained equal weight with a 2200 rupee target price, saying Q2 commentary was slightly better than expected, but the revenue growth is remained modest. Goldman Sachs, on the other hand, retained its buy rating with a target price of 2370 rupees, though it cautioned that the demand recovery is yet to reflect in the numbers. Citi stayed the most bearish, with maintaining a sell rating and reduced the target price to 1825, citing weak discretionary spending and sluggish international growth. On the other hand, Nuvama, Motilal Oswal and MK continue to remain constructive, highlighting TCS' strong AI positioning, healthy pipeline and improving the demand outlook as a key long-term positive.
All right. Thank you so much, Darshita, for joining us with that. So those are the brokerage notes, talking about TCS and the results. And it's a wait and watch as to how the stock moves in today's trading session on account of that and how the D Street reacts to the numbers and the brokerage notes. But let's, speaking to ET now, Piyush Pandey of Cranium says that the TCS AI business is moving in the right direction, but the growth trajectory is still at a very early stage. While the AI revenues have posted the mid-single-digit growth, he believes that sustained growth of over 20% would be a stronger indicator of AI. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
Yeah, this is happening on a much lower base of around, say, 6 to 7% of the revenue. And we do expect this revenue to grow at, say, around more than 25% per annum for the next, say, 5-7 quarters. But as the base picks up, like maybe over the next, say, FY28 onwards, we can see the overall growth improving. But as of now, I would say that it's a good early indicator. But let's see how it pans out. But we do expect this AI revenue to grow at, say, more than 20% for the next few quarters on a year-on-year basis. Yeah.
All right, let's move on and talk about all the stocks that will be in focus in today's trading session on account of the news flow. And for that, my colleague Meryl is now joining us.
Yes, these are some of the stocks that are in the spotlight today. Starting first with Pace Digitech, after its subsidiaries signed multiple partnerships to strengthen its battery energy storage business. The company has signed a BESS supply MOU with Onward Solar Power, and they've also partnered with Kalpa Power, expanding its product supply network in a fast-growing energy storage segment. Lux Industries is another name in focus. They've signed an exclusive licensing agreement along with Reebok for innerwear and thermal wear in India. Now, this agreement is taking effect this year and is renewable for up to 10 years, strengthening Lux's premium brand portfolio. Havells India is also making a strategic move into the battery energy storage system space through a collaboration with Pixie AS. This is marking the company's entry into the rapidly expanding BESS market. And among infrastructure names today, we've got Concor and GAIL having signed a 15-year agreement to set up an LNG station in the state of Ahmedabad. GAIL will be investing in this project and will have exclusive rights to operate this outlet. Seeing some downside, however, is TTK Prestige. The company has said that operations at its Roorkee plant have been disrupted due to floods, but the company has clarified that it does not affect any material impact on its business. And finally, we've got Torrent Pharma in focus. The company has recalled select batches of its Semalix injection pens following the product recall and the product supply issues outlined by Dr. Reddy's. The company, however, is saying that there is no risk to patients already using the treatment. And do remember, this is only one of a series of injections and a series of products that Torrent Pharma has out in the market. And this is still a voluntary recall that they have conducted. So yes, these were some stocks that we're expecting to see in the spotlight in today's trade.
All right, let's move on then. Speaking on India's Global Capability Center, the GCC ecosystem, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the government is focused on creating a policy environment that supports long-term investments and simplifies compliance. Highlighting measures announced in the Union Budget 2026-27, she said that the new unified safe harbour regime and the increase in the safe harbour threshold from 300 crores to 2,000 crores.
The government recognizes that India's next phase of GCC growth requires an enabling policy ecosystem that reduces friction, improves certainty, and supports long-term investments. The Union Budget of 26-27, we have announced several measures that directly strengthen India's attractiveness as a global capability destination. Unified safe harbour regime for IT and IT-enabled services, simplifying transfer pricing compliance for GCCs, which you referred to, enhanced safe harbour threshold from 300 crore rupees to 2,000 crore rupees, bringing many more enterprises under a simplified compliance framework.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Market Cafe. I'll take your leave. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere because the market action will continue on ET Now.